Hello children, how are you all? I hope you are doing well and keeping safe at home. Children, today we will be doing revision of chapter number 15 in social science. So you can take out your books. Chapter number 15, which is natural disasters. We will cover the important points of the chapter. Points to remember: natural disaster, various natural disasters and precautions, relief work during a natural calamity. As we read that a natural disaster is a calamity caused by nature. It's a calamity which is caused by nature. Few natural disasters are earthquakes, floods, cyclone, droughts and tsunami. We'll discuss in short. Earthquakes are movements deep inside the earth, and a massive earthquake can cause lot of damage. Buildings fall down, roads and bridges collapse. Now we learnt about the two terms over here, seismology and seismograph. Seismology is the study of earthquakes and seismograph is an instrument used to measure the shaking of the land. Now what precautions you should take during an earthquake? You should immediately come out of the building so that the things don't fall on your head, but you should be away from tall trees and tall buildings. Now floods. As you know, when due to excessive rains the river water rises above the banks, which causes floods. Now what are the precautions you should take during floods? You should move towards the higher areas, and also you should store the essential items like your medicines and food. Cyclones are heavy winds which come along with rain, and these are mostly found in the coastal areas. Again, what precautions you should follow? You should be continuously watching the television, listening to the radio or reading the newspaper, and again you should not go towards the shore, you should move towards the higher ground. Coming on to the drought. Drought is a condition, a dry period when the rainfall is less or below average. Now here we learned two terms, famine and epidemics. When there is shortage of food due to drought, it is a situation which leads to famine, and famine further leads to epidemics, that is outbreak of a disease. Tsunamis are high waves which are created under the sea due to volcanic eruptions, landslides or earthquakes. Now relief work during a natural disaster. As we read that except the government, few NGOs also come forward to help during a natural disaster. This is Red Cross Society, World Health Organization, that is WHO, United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. Red Cross Society provides immediate help for shelter, food and clothing. World Health Organization is responsible for international public health. United Nations Children Fund, that is UNICEF, it is responsible for the welfare of the children. This was about the recapitulation of the important points covered in chapter number 15. Now look at the internal questions. What is the study of earthquakes called? Page number 110, you will find the answer, seismology. As we discussed that the study of earthquakes is called seismology. Name the instrument used to record shaking of land. Again on page number 110 you will find the answer, that is seismograph. What is an epidemic? On page number 114 you will find the answer. A large scale outbreak of disease is called an epidemic. When due to shortage of food there is a condition of famine which further leads to epidemics. Now coming on to the book work. Write true or false for the following sentences. During an earthquake it is best to take shelter under a tree, which is false, as it may fall on you. You should be away from tall buildings and tall trees. The flood waters of a river are beneficial for the soil. This is true, as it makes the soil more fertile. Flooding due to cyclones occur in coastal areas. That is true. A tsunami is a massive earthquake. The statement is false. Tsunami is created by sea waves, high waves which are created under the sea. Deforestation increases rainfall and reduces the incidence of drought. The statement is false. Deforestation will not increase rainfall, afforestation will increase rainfall. Now question number B, fill in the blanks. A flood is a natural disaster. Earthquakes are caused by tremors inside the earth's surface. Tremors are shaking, okay, it makes shaking. A cyclone is very strong wind with heavy rain in coastal areas. As we read that cyclones are very strong winds which come along with rain, and these are mostly found in the coastal areas. Diseases are likely to break out after flooding due to unhygienic conditions after the flood waters recede. Now we read that when the flood occurs, all kind of water, that is sewage water, the river water mixes up, which leads to unhygienic condition, and these conditions leads to outbreak of many waterborne diseases. The intensity of an earthquake is measured on the Richter scale. Up to how much intensity the earthquake has caused, we measure it on a Richter scale. An earthquake under the seabed can cause a series of high waves in the sea called a tsunami. We read that tsunamis are caused due to underwater disturbance. It may be due to landslides, volcanic eruptions, or underwater earthquake. Multiple choice questions. Which of these is not a natural disaster? B is the correct answer. Fire in a house caused by electrical short circuit. This is not a natural disaster as it is not caused by nature. Which is the safest place during an earthquake? In the open, away from tall buildings and trees. This is the more safest place to come out of the building, but you should be away from tall trees. Okay, because if you remain inside the building, the whole roof can crash on your head. Which of these gets affected during floods? Crops, roads, transport, all of these. So D is the correct answer over here. All these are affected at the time of floods. A cyclone causes floods. How? Because the storm pushes the ocean water towards the shore, which causes flooding in the nearby areas. Deforestation makes a region more prone to, now here more than one answer could be marked, floods and drought. So correct answer is floods and drought. Deforestation makes a region more prone to floods and drought because it loses the water holding capacity. Okay. Which of these will not help prevent a drought? That is deforestation. Deforestation will not help prevent a drought. It will be afforestation. Okay. Now coming on to the copy work. What is a natural disaster? A natural disaster is a calamity caused by the nature which causes immense damage to human life and property. As we read that these natural disasters are caused by the nature, we learnt about few of the natural disasters like floods, earthquakes, tsunamis, cyclones, and they causes huge damage to life and property. Why do earthquakes occur? Earthquakes are caused due to movements deep inside the earth. Whenever there is sudden movement, sudden shaking movement deep inside the earth, it causes an earthquake. What is a cyclone? Strong winds followed by very heavy rains in coastal areas are called cyclones. These are very strong winds which come along with the rain, and coastal areas are more prone to cyclones, and cyclones also leads to flooding. Name two non-government organizations that help people during a natural disaster. It is Red Cross Society and the World Health Organization. These are non-government organizations which also come forward to help at the time of a natural disaster. Give two reasons why floods occur. Floods may occur due to excessive rains. When there is excessive rain, it may lead to flooding and melting of snow in the mountains during summer. When due to extreme temperatures the snow melts from the mountains, it can also lead to flooding as the melted snow will enter the river or the ocean water, which will rise and it will lead to flooding. What should you do if you feel an earthquake while you are in the house? During an earthquake, we must try to get out of the building to an open space. As I told you, the precautions which you should take, you should immediately come out of the building so that the whole roof may not crash on your head. and if we are unable to move out, we can also take shelter under a table to protect us from the falling objects. Or if else you are not able to come out, you should immediately take shelter under a table so that the things falling, it should not fall directly on your head. Why is there food shortage during a drought? As we discussed that drought is a very dry period. Since there are no rains during the drought, crops cannot be grown in the fields and farms, which leads to food shortage. Now drought is a condition which leads to less amount of rain, and further if it will not rain, the whole area will become dry, you won't be able to grow crops, and which will lead to food shortage. What steps can be taken to prevent the occurrence of drought? Afforestation, it increases the rainfall and reduces the incidence of drought. Planting more and more trees which will increase the rainfall and it will reduce the incidence of drought. Water harvesting, it increases the underground water level. We read that instead of letting the rainwater just run it like that, we should collect it in a roof like structure. Either we can collect it in a tank or dig deep pits in the ground and store it. Dams or rivers, they store excess water in reservoirs which can be used in times of drought. Reservoirs can be built near the dams which can store the excess water, and at the time of drought it can be used. What are the possible causes of a tsunami? A tsunami is a series of high waves which are created by some disturbance under the sea, such as underwater earthquakes, volcanic eruptions or landslides. As we learnt that these are very high waves which range up to 1 to 20 meters high, and these are caused by underwater disturbance which can be earthquakes, volcanic eruptions or landslides. Now this was all about chapter number 15. Go through the previous videos for the detailed explanation. Thank you.